It's probably all you'll be able to look at, Fred. Okay, here we go. Let me start the stopwatch. High technology here. Starting that.
You're listening to The Weigh-In with Mike Parson.
What are you cackling at, fatty? Too much pie, that's your problem.
And Fred Slow.
Anybody want a peanut?
On demand 24/7 at weighinradio.com.
Interior crocodile alligator. I drive a Chevrolet movie theater.
Welcome to The Weigh-In for what has been an exhausting week of sports talk for me, Mike. You know, I was on the Sports Junkies yesterday on 590 AM. KFNS. Had a blast hanging out with those guys. Really love when Matt has me on.
Let me ask you something, Fred. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I have no idea where you're going with this. So, yeah, I'm going to
You know what I'm talking about. Don't you play coy. Finally, it is the dawning of the Case Keenum era.
The hot talk around town is the Rams today are going to debut Case Keenum, and it doesn't even matter who we're playing.
Wait, Fred.
Era has come to an end, Mike Parsons.
Are you telling me that the first time Case Keenum was dealt away from the Rams to the Houston Texans, you didn't lay awake in bed all night wondering what could have been, and now you got your second chance, Fred?
The 2-7 Baltimore Ravens better watch out as the St. Louis Rams led Case Keenum with, side note, Todd Gurley are going to show something today in Baltimore, Maryland, Mike. Case Keenum, I believe, will break the single-game passing record, also held by a Rams quarterback, and he will set the world on fire, set your DraftKings lineup to FanDuel, set your FanDuel today. Case Keenum, I can't fake it, Mike. He's not going to do it. He was not good, man.
Fred, you were telling me that before the season started, you went to what, the Fan Fest? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, they do. The Rams over at Earth City do a Fan Fest, and I was there.
And so, and you were telling me that people were chanting Nick Foles' name. And I have to tell you, Fred, as someone who's not a native St. Louisan? St. Louiser?
Yeah, St. Louisan, yeah.
Louisan. From the outside, a Nick Foles for Sam Bradford trade wasn't all that exciting. In fact, Fred, the mere fact that the Rams went out and signed a backup the exact same day they acquired their starting quarterback should have been a red flag.
The toughest part about University of Houston's Case Keenum is that he is terrible, but the team is terrible. So I guess it fits. If the piece fits, you play it. So yeah, no, it makes perfect sense that Case Keenum has taken over for our star quarterback because he's no freaking good. We're in trouble, man. This organization's in trouble. The team's in trouble. We're in a lot of trouble.
Well, I guess Rams fans can take heart in the fact that really trading Sam Bradford for Nick Foles has pretty much been a wash, right? I mean, they've had almost identical seasons. They're both 4-5. They both have somewhat of an outside chance of making the playoffs. I guess the Eagles have a little bit better of a chance because they play in a terrible division. One got injured week 10, the other one got benched week 10. It's almost like you traded Sam Bradford. It's almost like the Eagles traded Nick Foles for themselves.
Well, and the best thing about how mediocre Sam Bradford has been is that because he played 8 games, we don't have to give him an additional draft pick. That's the only thing that's working out in this whole trade for the Rams. Nick Foles has been a disaster. Case Keenum's going to make the plays. Allegedly, we're going to go into Baltimore. Well, they're like 2-7. They struggle, and we're going to show just how poor of a football team we are if we cannot beat up on the Baltimore Ravens and former St. Louis Rams standout wide receiver Chris Givens.
Well, I guess you should be thanking Sam Bradford for waiting an extra week or two to get injured. To get that contract clause off your back. But, Fred, I would say for the very first time in history, that you can confidently say an NFL football team is better with Case Keenum under center than Peyton Manning.
Oh, he's fallen apart, hasn't he?
Which, hey, congratulations, Peyton, by the way, for breaking that all-time pass yards record. Well done.
Well, and that's a really great thing, and I'm excited for him and the Manning family. And here's a fun Manning family stat. Did you know that both Eli Manning and, as of last week, Peyton Manning, both brothers have had a 0.0 quarterback rating in a game?
No, well, that's just another feather to put in their cap. I guess, look, Fred, if you're going to go for the records, go for all of them, whether they're at the high end or the low end. And I do have to give Peyton Manning credit. Gary Kubiak kept him in the game just long enough for him to get that record. And then he looked up the scoreboard and said, hey, Peyton he's completed one more pass to our team than to the other team. Maybe we should take him out. And Peyton, to his credit, he still expects to be a top-notch NFL quarterback, and he still expects each game to mean something and for him to help his team win. Because even though he broke that record, which should have been a victory lap day for him, he was pissed off because his team was losing, and he's been stinking up the field all season.
He's not been great, and we're at a weird point, at least in my 30-year-old life, to where my former heroes are now they're moving to the wayside, right? Peyton Manning is no longer performing at his high level. Kobe Bryant, a guy that I've looked up to since 1996, is no longer performing at his high level. Derek Jeter was drafted in 92, just retired last year. Guys that I'd really hung my hat on as role models or inspirations, or those sports figures you grasp to, they're no longer with us or deplenishing at such a rate that they're not going to be playing anymore. And I have to transition for the first time in my life, Mike, to players who are younger than me.
Isn't that weird? It's like being a fifth grader and cheering for a first grader in a game of dodgeball, except the first grader has about 75 pounds of muscle on you and a few million in the bank account.
And you can just sling it.
Yeah, right. Like you can't give him a wedgie. If anything, he gives you a wedgie. But yeah, that's weird, Fred. I have a hard time watching college football because when you're a kid and you're watching sports, you're looking up to these guys thinking, hey, one day if I say my prayers and take my vitamins, I can be like this guy. And now you're looking at this kid who's about 5-10 years younger than you, and it's like, holy crap, what am I doing with my life?
It's a weird transition because I want to continue to root for players because as I was younger and when I was getting into sport, I was a big Sean Kemp fan. I was like, I didn't care for the Sonics, but Sean Kemp was the man, and I definitely have transitioned to a point now, and I think Washington State's a prime example. That's where I went to college, and here for the last 8 or 10 years, they've been just traditionally terrible. Well, right now they got Luke Falk now, and they're winning games, and he's in the talk for the Heisman. And there's a buzz about this kid, but I'm not really about him. I'm just about the team's success, and I recognize that, and I don't know if I would have in a younger day.
Right, you go from looking up to Marshall Faulk and being like, wow, this guy is a hell of a running back, and one day I hope to be the man he is. To looking at Todd Gurley saying, he seems like a good kid, runs a nice football.
Yeah, but gets his shoulder square. He's all right. He does okay out there. And I've talked about this a lot. I obviously we do the weigh-in every Sunday, and I do the Sports Junkies often, and we've had a lot of radio in our lives, and the Rams are moving, and no, it's not set in stone, but they're not going to stay here. They're going to go somewhere. And when they do go, I think I'll still be a fan because I'm a fan of the team. I don't necessarily have a connection to an individual, and I don't necessarily have a connection with them being a part of the city. With the ease of access we have nowadays, I can watch them anywhere, and I think I'll continue to follow the Rams as a fan. Same thing, unlike whenever I followed Peyton Manning, when I was never a Colts fan, I was a Peyton Manning fan, and then I followed Peyton Manning to Denver. I think those transition days are over for me. I'm strictly one team.
Yeah, well, you're more of a fan of the logo. You're a fan of the shield more so than anything else.
Yeah, well, brainwashed. I would say I'm brainwashed.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what symbols do. They condition you until you have a Pavlovian response to cheer for the color scheme.
We had our first Ambush home opener last week. Mike, did you tune in?
I did not. Why don't you give me the highlights there, Fred?
Appreciate the support. Myself and Joe De Niro over there on 590 The Fan. We just brought the heat as the Ambush hosted the Chicago Mustangs. Tough loss for the Ambush at home in the home opener as the Mustangs came into St. Louis and beat the St. Louis Ambush 9-7. Clean sweep for Chicago this past week in St. Louis is, the Blackhawks beat the Blues and the Bears beat the Rams, and it was just not a great Chicago St. Louis sports week, but had a lot of fun with the Ambush team. There was maybe 5,000 people at the venue, which is great. Come and check them out all season long. The next home game is the 27th. That's the day after Thanksgiving. I obviously will be there. Give me a little wave, say something creepy to me. I kind of like that stuff. But it's a lot of fun. It's a fun season. So the Ambush season is underway, and I'm getting radioed out, man. I'm not clever enough to talk this long on terrestrial airwaves.
Well, the best thing you can do, Fred, is just recycle the same jokes for different audiences. And by the way, before we move on, I just have to say, I've taken in a couple of Ambush games, thanks to my relationship with you and everything. And even if you're not a soccer fan, there's still a hell of a lot of fun to watch, because it's I guess you could say it's part soccer, part hockey, part arena football, and it's fast paced. And Fred, for the value, there's no better night out for families, for just hanging out with your boys.
And that's the joke, but I mean, it really is affordable. You can get tickets for $10, and it's family friendly, and you don't necessarily find that at all local soccer here. And not to name any specific teams, but there's a cool atmosphere, to burn a couple hours on a Saturday night or Friday night next week to come and hang out and just have a real good time, man. It's a lot of fun.
So, Fred, why don't you catch people up who may not follow the Ambush every week or may casually go to a game here or there? Who is the Ambush's biggest rival? If you were to go to 2 or 3 games this season, what team should you watch them take on, and who should you hope to fail?
There's some pretty healthy rivalries, and the division's real tough. So the Ambush play Chicago always plays this well. The Mustangs is a big deal. The Milwaukee Wave are always tough. That's a really good rivalry. I would say hands down the best rivalry is the Missouri Comets. They play in Kansas City. Their supporters come over here. Our supporters go over there. It's a lot of fun. It's a good broadcast. All that stuff is available on the Go Live Sportscast. It's a pretty good website. They have all the action in the MASL. Lots of games are featured on ESPN3. We do a lot of that stuff. But obviously, you can catch all the action if you're not at the venue. 590 or 590 AN KFNS. Myself and Joe De Niro have a lot of fun, and we got some cool sponsors behind it. The Law Office of David Elliott, Little Caesars. We do our absolute best to provide a cool soccer program to the listener.
At intermissions, do you guys currently, or do you have any plans to implement baby races?
Well, I do not run in-house promotions, but yes, there are races. There are relays. There are throw the balls.
Are there baby races, Fred?
I do not know. No, the short answer is no.
I've been seeing. I guess the Sacramento Kings do this at halftime now. They do these things called the baby races. It is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, Fred. Number one, it's chaos. These babies don't know what the hell they're doing. It's exactly what it sounds like. You get like 5 babies, you set them down at a starting line, and then they're supposed to crawl to the other starting line. But what the Sacramento Kings didn't take into account is that babies are stupid and they don't understand the concept of competition or races.
You would have to. I don't think you could put them in a straight line scenario. Maybe if it was a circle and they had to go from like the center of the circle to the outside of the circle.
Well, it's sort of like watching human electronic football. Did you ever have electronic football, Fred, before Madden took the country by storm?
No, I watched the documentary, though. I am familiar with it.
Right. For those that don't know, electronic football, you take these little figurines of football players, you put them on a board that buzzes, and then I don't know, they're supposed to run plays. But that's what it looks like. You get one baby who's actually trying. Then you get another baby that crawls off to the side. And then you get another one that just starts crying. And it's the stupidest, most frustrating thing I've ever seen. So I would suggest to your promotions department that baby races are not implemented into the intermission entertainment at the ambush games. Just my 2 cents.
No, and I understand everything you're saying completely. I watched a documentary, or I saw an expose or something on the guy that does the monkey riding the dog. Have you seen this?
No, but it's about time that it's about time they started making documentaries about stuff with substance.
So the guy with the monkey that rides the dog, he travels around the country and he does half times, and he football, basketball, whatever. He does 7th inning stretches and stuff. Anyway, the dude makes like $5,000 a pop.
Jesus,
like this is the living, man. One night he's in San Antonio and he does a Spurs game, and he makes $5,000 as the monkey on the dog runs around the court, and he's got a little GoPro now. It's perfect, and they stream the GoPro to the to the Jumbotron, so then you can, from the monkey's perspective on the dog, which is, like I said, Prime.
The monkey cam brought to you by PetSmart.
You have to, it has to have a sponsor. I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
so they do that, and then the next night they're in Houston, or the next night they're wherever, and this is his life, man, riding a monkey around on a dog.
At what point do you realize? At what point do you realize that you're going to be financially stable enough to tour your dog riding monkey around the country that you go in and quit your job? Excuse me, boss. It's been a great 20 years here at SNF accounting firm, but I'm going to put in my 2 weeks notice. Why is that? Well, you see, my dog riding monkey, it's really taken off, and I'm going to pursue it. I'm going to pursue it professionally.
Excuse me, Mr. Parsons. I know this may come as a surprise to you. That capuchin monkey that you ridiculed me for so long for purchasing, he's actually taking me straight to the top as he now rides dogs. I will be resigning as of today. I wish you and your family the best of luck.
Right. And don't even try to get back in on this, because you had your chance. # no new friends. It was a great documentary. You ever seen King of Kong?
No, I don't know anything about it.
It's about these 2 guys who are in a blood feud to become the world's best Donkey Kong player, like the arcade game, the Atari version King Kong game or Donkey Kong game. And there's this guy named Billy Mitchell, who is the all-time quote-unquote champ. And this guy's a slimy snake. Enter Steve Wiebe, a mild-mannered elementary school teacher whose childhood dream it was to become the best at something in the world. So he pursues getting the high score of all time on Donkey Kong until Billy Mitchell and his henchmen get word of this, and they do everything they can to hamper Steve Wiebe. And you're probably listening to me saying, why in the hell would anybody give a crap about who's a better Donkey Kong player? But it's a very well-done documentary, and if you watched it, you knew exactly what I was talking about. Towards the end, you hate Billy Mitchell because he's a dirtbag cheater. That's all I'm going to say.
I don't have a lot of Donkey Kong facts, right? I don't keep them ready. I don't have that ammunition.
Nobody does.
I do know that rapper Marshall Mathers, Eminem, born and bred in the
Detroit area.
Yeah, he is, I think, like a world-class Donkey Kong player.
Really?
He has high scores, and because you have to submit them. Are you familiar with how this works?
Yeah, it has to be officially sanctioned. This was touched on in the documentary.
Yeah, so he has, but he doesn't. But he's like an elite scorer. He's like one of the top 10 in the world, like regularly.
Wow.
Like, hey, some guys just got it all, right? That's
well. I mean, he put out a crappy album, then he disappeared for a while. Now it makes sense. He put out a crappy album because he was playing too much Donkey Kong, and then he went on hiatus so that he can concentrate on his Donkey Konging, I guess, if that's the way to say it.
Yeah, I would. If you're trying to turn it into a verb, then yeah, Donkey Konging.
Now watch me whip. Now watch me Donkey Konging. We got to hit quick break here, Fred. You are listening to The Weigh-In, 590 KFNS, weighinradio.com. When we come back, Fred, you're going to have to fill me in on some drama from the squared circle. It's The Weigh-In. Boom, 20 minutes.
Good job, man.
Thank you. That was a fun segment. Let's see. See, I like doing that. I like kind of jumping off into directions we weren't planning on.
It blows my mind that I have Donkey Kong trivia.
Yeah, well, I know. Well, here's the thing. It's amazing what stupid things come to your head when you're in the middle of a conversation like that. It's stuff that you don't even know that you remembered. All right, hold on. Okay. I want to talk about do you want to talk about Ronda Rousey at all or no?
Yeah, we can touch on it here because it has a tie because she'd been heavily rumored to after winning the home fight to appear at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Oh, after? Oh, okay, cool. Good. I've got some questions about that because I've seen the rumors going around.
Yeah, so we can make the transition.
Okay. By the way, this next bet I'm going to play, I'm going to normally play going into the last segment, but of course, it wouldn't be appropriate this week.
Understood.
So here we go. Let me start this.
Now, back to the weigh-in. Weighinradio.com.
Oh, hell yeah. That's the only good impression I do. And it's only that phrase.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the weigh-in proudly brings to you Mike, Old Man Parsons.
Welcome to Cold Stone. I'm Cold Stone Steve Austin. Do you want that Rudy Tooty fresh and fruity and the like it, the love it, or the gotta have it?
Mike, you are fully aware that I am a gigantic World Wrestling Entertainment mark.
Right, and I was, and then I stopped watching it after the quote-unquote Attitude Era. It just...
yeah. So you turned 13 and then you gave up.
I think it might have been once I actually started working. And because back in my day, Fred, when I started working, I can't break the Stone Cold impression. Now I just sound like old man Stone Cold. But back in my day, when I first started working, we didn't have DVRs. So if I missed Monday Night Raw, that was it, and I fell too far behind in the storyline. But
like so many of my friends, you say I stopped watching wrestling when high school got in the way.
Right. when puberty got in the way. But yeah, I guess Ric Flair's daughter is wrestling now, and there's some drama surrounding Ric Flair and an angle that he was not aware of that touched on some really personal stuff for him.
Yeah, and that's the big lead, right? So about 6 months ago, Ashley Flair, who in the industry is Charlotte, and that's what we'll refer to her moving forward, Charlotte came up to the WWE main roster in a debut, and that debut was lively, but then the story is just their whole storyline has just grabbed no traction whatsoever, and it's been floundering for about 6 months. So then in an effort earlier this week, the WWE decided it would be in their best interest to create a storyline where the heel, a girl named Paige, babyface is good, heel is bad. That's for the women.
Right, I remember that from Warzone for PlayStation.
So yeah. So in the angle, the two are having like a contract signing for the big Survivor Series matchup this weekend, and in that contract signing, and this is real heat. Okay, there's cheap heat, which is like when you're a Russian superstar and you say America sucks. That's
right.
Cheap. No one's. We get it. We're supposed to boo you. But this is real heat. This is how you get an audience on you. Paige, who is the opposing superstar, the one that's trying to take the championship from Charlotte, who's Ric Flair's daughter, she references Ric Flair's son and Charlotte's brother who committed suicide.
Right, like 2 years ago, right?
Overdose suicide. It's up for debate, actually. I shouldn't have said allegedly.
Right.
But they bring it out on full TV, and here's the thing, Mike. They didn't ask for any sort of permissions, and they didn't give any sort of heads up to Ric Flair.
Right. Well, how was it brought out in the angle?
So okay, so Ric Flair obviously is the 16-time world champion, and he's been in the game longer than anyone. And he had a daughter, Ashley, who's Charlotte, and he had a son, Reed. Right. So Reed was a performer in the WWE. He was only on the main roster not very long. He had a substance abuse problem. I mean, so many people do. So in the promo, a promo in wrestling is when two people are talking. So in the promo,
smack talk.
Yeah, the heel girl, Paige, she said, or Charlotte is saying, excuse me, guys. Charlotte, who's the face, she says, my family doesn't give up. That's why I'm going to be the champion. And then Paige says, well, it looks as if Reed gave up. Straight heat, Mike. And that's a slippery slope, because I mean, and it's the reality area, man. Like wrestling, you don't have wrestlers that are garbage men anymore. Like that, the line is kind of drawn in a way towards all based in kind of in reality. And this is pretty close to home, especially when you don't have the permission of what is arguably, outside of Hulk Hogan and maybe the Ultimate Warrior, maybe Macho Man, your greatest performer of all time's permission, Ric Flair, to reference his dead son.
Right. And like you said, Fred, Ric Flair himself was not given a heads up. His wife wasn't given a heads up, or their mother. I don't know if they're still together or not. But I guess Ric Flair, he saw it happen on TV, and it caused him to break down and start weeping, because obviously that's a wound that never heals. They say the worst tragedy to befall a human being is to have to bury their children.
Well, and he said on his podcast that if he had been in the building, he didn't think it would have happened. And then he said he didn't feel that Ashley, or Charlotte, his daughter, he didn't feel that his daughter had enough pull to really say no either way, because she's a kind of a budding superstar. She's not 30, so it's kind of it's a little bit. It's a backhanded move, but to all we know, he was fully aware. And this is that full submersive marketing technique to really get a story out. What are you doing now? You're building real heat. You're building real heat, not only for the heel girl, but for the whole product. And that's the thing that wrestling has thrived on.
And let's assume that Ric Flair is being honest when he says that he wasn't aware. But like you said, Fred, the whole universe now is YouTube and social media, and every wrestler has a podcast. So there's a chance that this is quote unquote part of the show. But I'm going to take Flair's word for it right now. Yeah. And that's exactly what he said on his podcast. He said, look, he doesn't hold it against his daughter, because his daughter is trying to make a name for herself in the business, and she probably, if she disagreed with the storyline, she had two choices: either go with it or tell him no. And if you're a professional wrestler now, you have nowhere to go if the WWE pisses you off, because you go down, like my buddy at work said, you go down a rung, and then where do you work your way up to? So she was probably stuck between a rock and a hard place. The Paige chick, she probably thought it is dirty, but she was in the same boat too. So, what would have happened if Ashley Flair or Charlotte said no? They said, okay, great. She gets fired. The WWE gets it's bad PR for them for a minute, and then people move on, and she's out of her wrestling career.
Well, and I get, maybe it's rhetorical, but we can attempt to answer it. Why doesn't the WWE, and it's basically run by one guy, right? It's run by Vince McMahon, who's been running it forever. It is a publicly owned company now. There is a board, but he has a relationship, and I'm a guy who has a job. I have several jobs. You build those relationships with people to where if you're going to work together, you have to communicate. And he could have reached out to Rick and said, hey, we are thinking about this. What, in your opinion, is the best way so that we do not offend you? And not even making that effort, almost more insulting than actually doing it.
Well, and I guess Vince McMahon is a real life actual dirtbag, which sounds funny to say because obviously he's one of the greatest villains in wrestling history. But when you're watching wrestling, you kind of have an idea that number one, the winners and the storylines are predetermined, and that behind the scenes, everyone's shaking hands, and these people are human beings. They're not their character in the WWE, and there's been a lot of storylines where Vince McMahon has done some terrible things, but I think that this real life situation is probably worse than all of them put together. Really,
I talk about this a lot, because I work with a wrestling promotion. I do a lot of stuff here in town, and there's looking at the WWE, looking at wrestling, right? It's not a wrestling show. It's not a wrestling show. It's a show about a wrestling show.
Right.
I always
sports entertainment.
Yeah, I always kind of compare it to the Muppets. The Muppet Show, if you remember from when you were a kid, was about a show they were trying to put on. But all the footage it was about the production and the angles and how they did it. It was never the actual show. And that's the same idea here with the WWE. It's not actual wrestling. It's a show about wrestling. So they get, like you said, they take these storylines and then they integrate them into everyday life via social media, Twitter. They have lots of programming on E. They have the network now that I watch constantly. And you have access like never before to the product, and then therefore information about the product, right? So 10 years ago, if this happens, we probably don't hear from Ric Flair. We probably never, because he doesn't have a podcast 10 years ago.
Right.
So now after I watch the WWE on Monday night for 3 hours, I then go and absorb WWE programming throughout the week created by numerous people. This is, and I know it sounds bad because it's a really trashy move by the WWE to ever speak ill of the dead, but their brand awareness goes through the roof.
Yeah, and I guess for the people who are wondering if this is a publicity stunt or not, we'll find out if Ric Flair quote unquote speaks out about it, at an actual wrestling event. That would be tacky too. I mean, either way, the story's tacky, whether it's on the WWE's part or if Ric Flair was aware of it and he's part of it and he's joining as well. I guess time will tell.
There was a similar story 2-3 months ago. Dusty Rhodes passed, the American Dream.
Right.
So the American Dream passed, and he has 2 sons that are currently wrestling. One of them portrays this guy Stardust. Well, and whenever obviously they took some bereavement time and hung out with their family. But whenever he returned to competition,
there
Fred,
was no
sort
like I said. Guy who hasn't watched wrestling in a while. Question: is Stardust different from Goldust?
Yeah, it's his younger brother.
Okay, is Goldust still wrestling?
He's not officially retired, but he's in the back. He does stuff. He's with the company. I'm sure he'll show up at the Royal Rumble. He'll probably get a going away match.
Okay, got it. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, you're fine. So whenever Stardust returned to the Squared Circle, he was asked by fans why they didn't, why aren't you talking about, your dad passing? And this is all through Twitter and social media. He says, I'm not going to take the saddest thing in my life and turn it into an angle.
Right.
And it's the same idea here. Like there's a way to do it right, and there's a way that they just did it, and the way they just did it is just not right.
Well, something else in the hot rumor mill, Fred, is that, and I guess this was before the Holly Holm fight, Ronda Rousey, once she kind of became too big for the UFC, was going to jump over to WWE. And I'm wondering if that's in danger now. I wonder if her book deals, her movie deals are all in danger after her loss to Holly Holm last Saturday night.
She had really embraced that untouchable persona, hadn't she?
She has, and I think it hurt her because it seemed like the Monday after it happened, she announced all these other book deals and movie deals. She's going to play herself in a biopic. She's going to play Patrick Swayze's role in Roadhouse. And I think most people are thinking, number one, she's only had 12 fights. Number two, she's only been around for a couple years. And if she's spending all this time, quote unquote, being a celebrity, when's she going to find time to train? And I guess that question was answered.
Well, you kind of put yourself in a position where you go from success story and overachiever to the guy on the top, right? And as consumers, i.e. the Yankees or the Cowboys, so many people just hate you for being perennially good. And she had kind of got to that point where people were enthused for Holly Holm to kind of knock her off her perch. And now that she's down, the bandwagon is it's left the station. No one's on it anymore. And is the Holly Holm stuff going to pick up? Maybe. I doubt it. Well, I don't doubt it. I don't know. But she's absolutely going to have some public relations guys that are going to say, do not do it the way that Rousey was doing it.
Right. And they often say, what's the saying? It's harder to stay on top than to get to the top. For me, both sound very, very tough. But I guess this is a classic example because, the meteoric rise almost overnight. And I guess when that happens, what you have to do is you have to try twice as hard as you did getting there because now everybody wants to knock you off.
Well, Bill Murray said it, but Cinderella story out of nowhere, like that. People love that, and they're going to soak that up every day. And I don't know what she's going to do now. I guess she's on 6-month medical lease, so she can't compete or train for like 6 months. WrestleMania is within 6 months. I could see her making an appearance there. Does she still get the pop she would have got? I don't know. Maybe she gets booed. That's not what she wants.
It's the Weigh-In KFNS and WeighInRadio.com. Woo! That was just in time.
Good job.
Okay. All right. So we are waiting for our guest to call.
I can call her, though.
Okay.
Let me see if she's ready. Her name is Lisa.
Okay. Hold on.
Lisa Viviano. I don't know if we're going to say that on here. I don't.
Okay.
You want to call it a second? You want to talk for a second?
Let's see, Lisa. Do you have a link to what is it? The GoFundMe page?
It's not a GoFundMe. It's something else. But yeah, I can get it to you in 2 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead and give it. Yeah. And so we'll make this one 9 because we went the full segment. Those other ones here.
That's fine. And I think Lisa's going to do great, but I know she's a little nervous.
Okay, that's fine.
I
guess maybe we should test out the phone. Or do you think the phone's set and ready to go?
It's going to work fine, but we can test.
Okay.
They're up to $2,300 out of $20,000 so far. So,
how much time do they have to raise it?
I don't know. Doesn't say.
Okay, crowd rise. Let's see here. Let me just read up on this real quick.
Cool.
Cute kids.
Yeah, they're just a cute family, man. It's the saddest shit ever. Like,
let's see. I wonder if
I'm calling her right now.
Okay. I'm wondering if there's an easier URL there.
I don't know. That might be a reference one.
Okay. All right.
Well, hold on. Yeah, if you just do can't stop, won't stop, fight without a T.
Can't stop, won't stop, fight. FIGH.
Yeah, if you put a T, it doesn't work.
Okay. Well, we'll put it on our website too, obviously.
Oh yeah. Hey Lisa, how are you? I'm good. What time are you in a situation where you're available? Good. Cool. I'm gonna patch you in, and we're gonna make sure everything runs clearly for a second, and then we're gonna hit record. So bear with me. If it's real horrible, we will have a chance to redo it, but I think you're gonna be fine. Hold on 1 second. Hey Lisa, can you hear me?
Yes, I sure can.
All right, hold on. Let me get some levels straight.
Okay. I can hear her too, so that's good. Hi, Lisa. I'm Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Okay. Good. You can hear me too. Excellent.
Yes,
Can you hear us both clearly, Lisa?
I can.
Cool. Do you want Viviano on air or not?
That's fine.
Okay, very good. And like I said, it'll be softball questions. So it'll be like I texted you earlier. We're going to ask you, a little bit about obviously your connection to Kristen, and then we're going to talk about the Morris family and kind of talk about the obstacles they're facing, talking about the needs and what we're going to hopefully help them achieve, and then talk about where people can go to help, and then that'll be 9 minutes.
Okay, so
And
you guys are going to basically prompt me for the questions?
Oh yeah. We'll ask them, you answer them, and 9 minutes will be over before you even know it.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. And then, like I said, we'll do this today, and then we'll get together, and I'll shoot you an address and stuff, and we'll be in studio Saturday morning for
Okay, very good.
for a repeat of this. And I don't want to make it confusing, but the Saturday one is live, and this one doesn't air till Sunday morning. So does that make
Right.
sense? Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Fred, you're going to bring us in here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I am hitting the stopwatch right now.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
These guys are like bad stand-up comics that you can't heckle.
WeighInRadio.com.
Welcome back to the weigh-in on 590 KFNS. I, of course, am Fred Slow. Alongside me, Mike Parsons, and joining us on the Marshall Wireless Hotline, a fast friend of mine, Mike. Lisa Viviano. She is here to tell us. It's a pretty sombering story, actually, Mike. It is about a friend of mine and Lisa's cousin. Her name is Kristen Morris, and she is the sweetest girl in the world. And Lisa, are you with us?
I sure am.
Great.
Hi, Fred.
Great, Lisa. It's good to have you on. Do us a favor here at the weigh-in. We reach a lot of people, and we like to use that platform to help when we can. And my friend Kristen Morris, and you don't know this, Mike, me and Kristen went to junior prom together. Just very good friends when we were kids. But she's in a tough situation, and Lisa, you kind of have the details on what's going on and how we can help her.
Yeah, I sure do. First of all, I want to say, Mike and Fred, thank you very much for having me on today. Kristen Morris, she is a 31-year-old wife, and she has 2 daughters. Her one daughter is 6 years old. The other one is only 11 months old, so not even a year yet. Last month, she experienced a seizure. She was taken to the local hospital via ambulance, and she was immediately transferred to Barnes Jewish. She underwent surgery right away, and she had a brain tumor removed. So a few days after that, she received the news of cancer. The tumor is actually a grade 3 mixed anaplastic oligoastrocytoma. It's considered a very aggressive form of brain cancer. So she will begin daily treatments for radiation and chemotherapy also very quickly. Previous to the seizure, she worked with school district with special needs children, mostly with kids in kindergarten through 3rd grade. And she's just a wonderful, kind-hearted, sweet girl. She's very loving, very caring. So she can't drive for at least 6 months. She's unable to work. Like I said, she'll start daily radiation treatments and chemotherapy soon. They have a lot of new expenses, as you can imagine, traveling to and from Barnes, the medical bills, etc. And, those compounded with their usual expenses, and then one income, they're going to go through a lot of financial strain and be very overwhelmed. So,
Right. And
her husband does shift work. Yep.
yeah, and when somebody gets a diagnosis like this, it's a struggle on 2 fronts, right? The first struggle is to beat the disease, and then once you beat the disease, it's digging out of the financial hole that they're in. And you actually started a crowd sourcing fundraiser, crowdrise.com/can't-stop-won't-stop-FIGH, F-I-G-H. And we'll put this all up on weighInRadio.com so people can go to it. And looking at, just a beautiful family, 2 beautiful children. And you said that the diagnosis came a month ago, you said?
Yes, yeah, it's everything's really new. She's still healing from the surgeries from having the tumor removed. So once she's healed from that, they'll begin radiation, and that'll begin here within probably the next week or so.
Right, and like you said, it's so new. So you may not even be able to answer this question because you're all probably still processing it. But what does this do to the rest of the family? When one family member gets such a I don't want to say devastating because I like to use hopeful language. Such a challenging diagnosis.
Yeah. Well, first, I'm not sure if we've all really, if we've all really gotten our heads wrapped around it just yet. I mean, it is brand new. It's heartbreaking. It's truly heartbreaking. We are trying to be hopeful. Kristen is so optimistic. She's just got it in her head. She's going to beat it. And I'll tell you what, like, I've just seen something come out of her that I don't know if I've ever quite seen. She is a fighter. She said, I have my wonderful husband and my 2 girls that I have to be here for, So right now, I mean, we all, the initial shock of everything, and she's just already just ready to be done and beat it and, be able to live a life with her wonderful family.
We kind of, through different times in our lives, we've talked about this publicly, where there are 2 types of people, and there are those who have faced cancer, and there's those who haven't faced it yet. And it's absolutely traumatizing, not just in my opinion, but to everyone, that you can't take on this thing alone. It takes a village. And if you're able to rally your friends and your family behind you to kind of help you effort, your recovery, what does that do for like Kristen's psyche to just know that so many people like love and care about her?
Yeah, we've said that. We just want to protect her. We just kind of want to shield her from, any sort of outside things that she would have to worry about, like finances. That needs to be the last thing that they are thinking about. I mean, they need to focus on her health and, the time that she can spend with her girls. We don't want them to have to think about money at all. So we're trying to shield them from all of that. And she's told me so many times she's so overwhelmed. Already people have reached out to her, and it's just it's good for her morale, to know that she has all these people behind her.
No, understood. And like you said, her husband Jeremy, he works shift work. They got a couple kids. The bills are mounting. So what are some options, Lisa? What are some things that the Weigh-In listener can do to kind of help Kristen in her journey towards recovery?
Yeah, so we've got a few options for any of your listeners that would want to help, and any help at all. I mean, even the smallest amount would be so appreciated. There is a CrowdRise account, and that's a fundraising website. I believe you guys were going to provide the links for that. There's also a benefit account set up under her name, Kristen Morris, and that's at First Mid-America Credit Union for cash or check donations. That's at there's various locations of that credit union in the Metro East, and one in Independence, Missouri. And then also, we're going to do a Dine to Donate at Casa Romero. That's a awesome Mexican restaurant in East Alton. That'll be Monday, December the 14th, and 10% of all the proceeds will go directly to Jeremy and Kristen.
Lisa, we talked about it earlier, just how financially challenging that a cancer diagnosis could be. Just give us a couple of the things, I guess, the unexpected expenses that have been placed on the lap of the Morrises.
Yeah, so first of all, Kristen, she's not able to work. So right away, that's one less income that they'll have for the family coming in. They do have the 2 girls, so it's not just them, and then just the daily travel to Barnes. We're in the Metro East, so we're talking gas money, we're talking money for lunch there, we're talking parking, and then insurance, as we know, is great to have, but it doesn't cover everything. So all of these bills are already coming in from her surgery, just the ambulance ride, all of these things. I mean, it's overwhelming. There are a lot. So there's the daily things, and then there's all of the stuff, I mean, now that's hitting them, and then to come, she's going to be in treatment for a long time. So
Lisa, we really appreciate giving us a few minutes. Crowdrise.com/can't stop won't stop FIGH, FIGH. Go there. In any amount helps, right, Lisa?
Absolutely, yes.
And hey, once she's all better, we're gonna have you and her on the show, and we're gonna laugh at pictures of Fred from his prom. Okay?
Yeah, I think that sounds wonderful.
Great. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate it.
All right. And Fred, we are out of time. WeighInRadio.com.
Yeah, 590 KFNS. That's a heartbreaker. We're gonna do our best to help them. We clear?
Yep. Hey, I'm gonna turn off the Google Plus broadcast too here.